Yo, this bench totally works. Oh, hey, what's up everyone? It's your boy Nick, and this is my boy Wolf, and welcome back to another episode of Rad Dad Builds. Yeah! So in this episode, I'm going to show how I built this simple yet elegant bench that I built for my entryway. So you're going to want to stick around for this one. And as always,
what is up?
Yeah! Okay, what's up everyone? So there's a few things I wanted to get into before we start the build of this video. And that is the area of which the bench is going. So this is my entryway. This is where we come in and out. And before there was like kind of like a pony wall and a post, some big ugly thing. It kind of like made the room a lot smaller. Actually, I'll show you exactly what it looked like. It looked like this with the post and the wall. And yeah, so we ripped it out. Anyway, we ripped that out and it kind of left this ugly transition here on the floor. And to get over that transition, we're gonna build a bench. So I have a bunch of maple lumber ready to be milled up. So I selected the pieces that I want for the frame of the bench and then brought them over to my jointer. Using my jointer, I put two flat surfaces perpendicular to each other on the lumber that I selected. I then set the guide on my table saw to 6 inches wide and then ripped the pieces of lumber down. Once they were ripped down in width, I then brought them down to their final thickness using my planer. And obviously you can skip this process by buying already milled lumber, but I really enjoy this part of the project. So I cut the underside of the frame to size with a 45-degree miter on each end, using my miter saw. The overall length of this frame was 4 feet. I then transferred those exact measurements to another piece of milled lumber and cut them the exact same way. I then, with the offcut, I cut the two sides of the frame with a 45-degree miter on either end at 17.5 inches in length. Before gluing the frame up, I removed all the stubborn marks left behind from the milling stages using my orbital sander. To help with alignment and just help out structurally, I cut dominoes in all 4 of the corners of the frame. This isn't completely necessary, but it does help when you come to glue the frame together. To glue the frame together, I'm using Titebond 2, which is a standard wood glue. I applied an even consistent amount of wood glue to each of the mitres, and then gently tapped the frame together, assembling it with the help of the domino. I clamped the frame together, making sure it sat nice and square, and let it dry for at least a couple of hours. While I was drying, I made a start on the actual seat of the bench. I selected a suitable piece of white oak to match the interior of the house, and then milled it flat using my jointer. I then brought it to 1.5 inches in thickness on my planer, and then cut it to 10 inches in width on my table saw. I then cut it to length on my miter saw. Using my jigsaw, I rounded off the edges on the inside of the bench, and then sanded them smooth using my orbital sander. Once the frame had dried, I then removed all the clamps and applied a chamfered edge to all of the edges of the frame, using my 1/4 inch palm router. And then gave all parts a good sand to 220 grit. Okay, so now both pieces have been sanded to 220 grit, it's time to apply the first coat of finish. And for the finish, I'm using Osmo. So it's pretty easy to apply. I normally apply it with a white pad or a blue shop towel. You wipe it on and then essentially wipe it off. Let's get to it. So I buff in a sparing amount of Osmo oil to all parts of the benches using a white pad, and then I let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes. I then remove any excess using a blue shop towel. Now that both pieces have had a single coat of Osmo oil and it's dried, it's time to bring it in, assemble it, and fit it in position. And then I'll give it a second coat once it's all said and done. Yep. So I put down some painter's tape on the floor just in front of where the bench frame will sit. And then on the tape I mark where the joists are below. That way I can screw through the frame, through the subfloor into the joist below, giving it that extra strong fixing. I dropped the bench in and then positioned it to where I want it to sit, making sure I have an equal, consistent overhang. And then transferred the markings of the joist below to the bench. Once I transferred all the markings, I then pre-drilled all of the holes. I then bored out all the tops of the holes to 3/8 of an inch wide to allow for plugs to cover up the screws. On top of the subfloor, I applied a sparing amount of PL construction adhesive just to give the bench that extra little bit of grab. I then screwed the bench into position. As I want to screw the bench to the wall as well, I shimmed behind the bench, that way it doesn't pull it out of square when I tighten the screws. I then, using a 3/8 of an inch plug cutter, I proceeded to cut a bunch of plugs out of a scrap piece of maple, matching the same material as the frame. I then glued and tapped the plugs in over the screws, making sure that the grain of the plug matches the grain of the bench. I then cut all the plugs flush carefully using my trim saw. I then sanded the plugs flush using my sander. Using the exact same techniques as before, I drilled a series of holes to attach the bench top to the bench frame. then brought the top in, clamped it down, and then screwed it permanently into position. I then cleaned up all the dust, and then later that night, once Wolf had gone to bed, I applied the second and final coat of Osmo oil. And that pretty much sums up this project. It's a super simple build, yet effective, and it really brings the entryway together. And it's kind of one of those projects that could really go anywhere in someone's house. So, as always, I want to say thank you so much for watching this video, and if you liked it or got anything from it, please subscribe. I appreciate that so much. If you got any comments or questions, please don't hesitate to ask me down below. If you like this video, please like, share, and share with every single person that you know. And if you want to go see some more day-to-day stuff, go follow @RadDadBuilds on Instagram. And as always, stay rad. Peace. Yeah.